He's cheating?
And being held down while she's having the child, and then the child being taken away from her.
Yeah, I came across her.
What is that? Like, did you have a theory as to what that was?
Haha.
In my years of looking into this, as I said, some women are used as quote-unquote breeders. There was an amazing study that was done. It's called the Extreme Abuse Survey. And if your audience wants to really go down the rabbit hole, they can look up the Extreme Abuse Survey. It's done by 4 researchers, 2 psychologists from Germany, 1 psychologist from the United States, and then a woman named Carol Rutz, who was a mind control survivor. And actually, she wrote a book called A Nation Betrayed. She was like the first mind control survivor to really come out and talk about that. And the Extreme Abuse Survey has multiple categories of different types of abuse. And that's one of the categories is breeding. And like 400 people responded to that questionnaire. So I would suggest that you check out the Extreme Abuse Survey. And it talks about all kinds of really horrific things, but you've got multiple people saying that, you know, this or that, and it's shocking.
Yeah, it's such a challenging thing with these files specifically because there's no doubt that Jeffrey Epstein was this psychopathic megalomaniac monster that was doing this. I mean, perhaps the worst evil you can do to, you know, fellow humans. And with that, you have all these emails that sort of show his inner dealings, and some of them are so mundane and kind of innocuous and kind of, you know, blasé. But then you have others that are so morbid and sort of, you know, curious and like sexual and bizarre. And then you also have these anonymous tips that are the most salacious, but also the least verifiable. And it's all just kind of flooded at the same time. And it's hard to really parse, okay, well, what is credible, what is a little bit, you know, less credible. I'm curious, when you're going through these files, how do you assess what to apply the most time and energy into? Because not every person's is necessarily, you know, this pedophilic monster. But how do you approach that?
You saw what I've done. I've gleaned a bunch of them and put them into categories. And it's really up for people to decide what they think. But I've come across this information before. In the Franklin scandal, there were accounts of children getting murdered. And there was a network in Detroit, out of Detroit, and it was run by a guy named Francis, or it was affiliated with a guy named Francis Sheldon, who was a very wealthy guy. And he had Fox Island in Lake Michigan. And he would fly kids in to Fox Island and make some material and his buddies. And there was an offshoot of that network that started killing kids. A woman named Mari Keenan wrote a pretty good book about it. It's called The Stone.
I am Loki.
And what I've seen with really evil, I'll say it is, they like to be sadistic. And there were Epstein clients that like to be sadistic to the little girls. And I think that they just take it further and further and further. And that's my extrapolation on it.
Interesting. I mean, it's brutal and so morbid, but I guess the nature of their sadism is that it has to keep on getting, you know, elevated.
Virginia talks about a prime minister in her book.
Start banning Gambit.
How he really roughed her up and asphyxiated her. And he's a nasty piece of work.
Fuck you want?
Does she say him by name or just him?
No, she said prime minister.
No.
I see. Christmas, can you just scroll up here to the very top? There's one with Epstein and Leon Black specifically.
It never worked.
Puedes hacer con internet multiplay más creatividad, más streaming, más gaming. Hay más para ti con internet multigig y nuestra garantía de precio por 5 años cuando agregas Cox Mobile.
Shut that dog up. Zap. Zap. I didn't turn my camera on, but I don't know
Now,
if I wanted
Leon
it on
got a little
purpose.
sadistic with that girl.
Yeah, so this email is pretty strange. This one says here, now again scrolling up, this is from May 26, 2023, so again after Epstein's death, and it says call with Janine Christensen, and it says here Leon Black, Wall Street person, founded large private equity global fund, whatever that's his friend, and then it has a redacted line that says 7 to 8 years Black was sexually violating her. Black bite part of her genitals. Violence was arousing for him, very painful for her. JC represented victim for civil defamation case, not sex abuse scandal. Went to the USA. Well, in Patton, JC doesn't represent her anymore. And it goes on to sort of discuss more about the legal dealings of this. It says, victim says Black sexually assaulted her around 20 years ago. That's not the exact word, I'm just changing it from observation. In Epstein's townhouse, victim described it, felt like pain. On a massage table with head on floor, legs off the shoulders, excruciating. I mean, it's extremely brutal. I mean, it says abuse.
Somewhere I can eat you, thank you.
What do you make of this email? Where is it coming from, and what is the purpose of existing in this file?
Well, I think that someone in some type of authority took her statement. I mean, I think that that's where this comes from. And you can see in other documents where authorities are taking people's statements.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, the media has been just so disingenuous regarding Jeffrey Epstein. So Leon Black gave Jeffrey Epstein $160,000. And actually Jeffrey Epstein was kind of mean to Leon Black. He was his life with him like that, but he gave Leon Black $169,000. And the media has said the reason why he gave Leon Black gave Jeffrey Epstein $169,000 because Epstein was helping him with his taxes, right? Taxes. Yeah. Yeah. And like with Les Wexner, and this is from Vanity Fair, which is not sophisticated. The reason why Les Wexner gave Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney over his vast fortune in 1991 was because he was lonely. So, you look at the excuses that the mainstream media has made for these people. Would it surprise me that Leon Black is sadistic to girls? No.
So that's what this, you're suggesting that this comes from some type of statement from some kind of authority regarding his behavior. Now, why would he not be prosecuted for this?
Because Epstein and Maxwell had no co-conspirators. I mean, where do you, if the Department of Justice and FBI are going to start indicting co-conspirators, where would you start?
Right.
I mean, on Sunday, the FBI came out after all these...
Lord Deadpool 111, you're asked. I'm sorry, that sucks.
So,
What the
that is
fuck?
the Maginot Line. And Leon Black is safely behind the Maginot Line.
Right.
But if the prosecution starts, he's probably going to be at the top of the line.
Right. I mean, it says here 7 to 8 years. I'm assuming that's years old, was the age of the victim. It's difficult to really assess.
Yeah.
But that also kind of paints a different picture of this whole thing, because at a certain point, it's stated to the public that the youngest Epstein victim was like 13, 14.
No, that's categorically wrong. Because I've spoken at various conferences over the years, I've gotten to know therapists that work with survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And I know two therapists that work with, and I believe them, and actually one of them is a very eminent psychologist. And they
Turret Loki.
with victims of Epstein, or victims who were trafficked when they were under 10 years old.
So why does the public believe that the youngest was...
Because that's what the media and the government sold. And people don't want it. it's very strange. You've got like Megyn Kelly, who was harassed ad nauseum by Ron Burrell. You think that she would have some kind of empathy towards sexual abuse victims. But you've got people like her claiming that 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds have agency. And I think that, and a lot of people are standing behind that 14-year-olds or 15-year-olds have agency. But when you get to 11-year-olds or 9-year-olds, then the agency of it kind of dissipates.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, like, you can be sex trafficked at 25.
Yeah,
at 30. Yeah. So, like, the fact that, like, to me, the fact that there's that you're telling me, like, there's victims under 10, it just makes it more grotesque.
And actually, that's come out in the files.
Right. I mean, even this is, whether or not this is valid, this is true or not, it's probably worth saying that at this point in time, Leon Black does not have formal criminal charges related to sexual abuse or anything like that.
And the only relationship he had with Jeffrey Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Which, it's not illegal for the husband to that, but is that the extent of their relationship?
It is not. There have been other allegations. Jeffrey Epstein really leveraged it. He rode Leon Black very hard.
I just don't get what leverage Epstein would have on that he.
I missed the bridge.
Was the guy that wanted access to what Epstein had, like Epstein was his fixer. Was there some other type of power play happening here?
Well, Epstein.
Why did he switch to damage?
And if someone has footage of an individual, someone who's underage, they're owned. Right. There's no escape from that. And they're going to give sequence regardless of what happens. Right. And it's pretty obvious that Leon Black, and as I said, there are other allegations on him, that nothing's ever happened to him because he's been unimaginable.
Right. But there's also weird discrepancies with that. There's the initial filing from the FBI when they raided Epstein's home, suggesting that there is cameras in many of the rooms. Yeah. And then there's a later statement saying that there are not cameras. But yet, in some of the pictures that are released of the room, you can see cameras in the image. Like, it's sort of surreptitiously hidden on top of, the top kind of banister thing. It's just strange that there's so much back and forth on this topic.
I can make what I want, where I want. There's no being seized. I checked the fine print.
So you back to the community I work, sir.
And if they partner with the school, I always root for them.
Hello, America. Tom Hand here in America. Today we're discussing the Battle of the Thames. With Captain Oliver Hazard Perry's great victory on Lake Erie, General William Henry Harrison, the time had finally come for the invasion of Arkansas. Harrison assembled 2 brigades of regulars under Generals Duncan MacArthur and Lewis Cass, and 3,000 by Governor Isaac Shelby, a veteran of the great victory at Kings Mountain in the American Revolution. On September 27, 1830, Captain Perry's fleet transported Harrison's army across the lake and landed it on the Canadian shore, 3 miles below Fort Walton. To oppose the American force, General Henry Foster, British commander, had an army of 400 regulars and approximately 3,000 Indians. But Proctor was a cautious man and retreated east of the Thames River Valley to the disgust of Tecumseh and his warriors, many of whom returned home rather than join in the retreat. Harrison's pursuit of the British began in earnest on October 2nd, led by Colonel Richard M. Johnston's Regiment of Mounted Kentucky. Although the British were already 50 miles ahead of the Americans, Johnson's troopers quickly closed the gap. Left with little choice but to turn and fight, Proctor halted his retreat on October 5th and drew up his dwindling army in line of battle adjacent to the Thames River just west of Moravian Town. Upon observing the thin British line, General Harrison opened the assault and mounted a charge against Kentucky, crying, "Remember to raise them." And the fury of the American assault quickly broke the British line. The contest at this point was over in less than 20 minutes, as the British regulars that were not casualties all surrendered. The left of the British line, comprised of the remaining Indians led by Tecumseh, proved a tougher fight. Here, Colonel Richard Johnson led the charge, but was met with a heavy fire, and Johnson was severely wounded. Sometime during the brutal fighting, Tecumseh was killed, and with his death, the remaining Indians lost heart and fled from the field. All told, the British suffered 50 casualties and had over 400 men captured in the Battle of the Thames. While American losses were relatively light, with 75 killed and wounded, including Colonel Johnson, who soon recovered from his wounds. But more importantly, with Tecumseh's passing, the Confederacy collapsed, and Indian resistance in the Northwest largely came to an end. After General Harrison, his great victory in Canada, which secured Canada, was his last hurrah in the war, as he had a falling out with Secretary of War John Armstrong and resigned his commission. But in 1840, Harrison would be elected our 9th president, using the slogan, "Take the new and Tyler too." Next week, we'll discuss the fight for the Niagara frontier. Until next time, may the love of country lead you.
Well, our government has worked very hard to cover up Jeffrey Epstein and his little enterprises. And for Pam Bondi, this was actually tragic, but it's humorous to a certain degree. It's a little ridiculous. Pam Bondi said that agents and DOJ personnel were going through the videos that had been impounded from Jeffrey Epstein. And according to her, there's thousands of them. And so these videos were impounded in 2019, and then the Justice Department just put them in a corner where they were gathering dust and didn't look at them. I mean, till 2025? I mean, that is patently absurd.
Right.
I'm sure that there were agents doing double shifts. And she also said that.
She said,
yeah, she wanted that back too. Wow.
wow. Yeah. I refuse to believe
No.
files.
What the
This is
fuck?
the most explosive, but perhaps politically impactful story of the last 25, 50 years, perhaps. And I mean, with so many political enemies on either side, I can't imagine that the Biden administration or Merrick Garland wouldn't be trying to go through these files to find information on Trump, and that they would just let it, go.
My take on this is, I mean, the cover-up started under Bush.
Yeah, it's all the cover up.
The cognitively challenged George Bush. And then it went through Obama. And then it went through Trump. And then it went through Biden. And then Trump ran that he was going to offer, that he was going to expose.
Right.
What was it? And I think that Trump thought Epstein is a Pandora's box. Bush, too, built the box. Obama and Biden made sure that they didn't open the box. And I think that the Trump administration felt like they could open the box ever so slightly and then slam it shut. But with Pandora's box, once you open it, a curse comes out. And there's no getting the curse back into the box. And I think Trump found that. When the Trump administration came out with those very disingenuous documents that were given to the influencers and the white finders, when I put the black book up in 2015,
Stinks.
We redacted adults' numbers. And when it came to the victims, generally undersized, there was the victims. And there were like 174 names that are massage, Florida massage, New Mexico massage, LA. And that's where I found the victims, under massage. So I told Gawker, we've got to redact their last names and their numbers. And so that's what we did. We did the right thing. And then when I saw Arnie's release of the Black Book, everything was blacked out.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, and then the flight logs too. I mean, I put more incriminating information on the internet in 2015 than she did initially in 2025.
Right.
Trying to predict the future is a hazardous occupation. The only thing we can be sure of is that it will be absolutely fantastic. I'm thinking of the incredible breakthrough in communication satellites. They seem to make possible a world in which we can be in instant
Niggas.
wherever we may be. When that time comes, the whole world will have shrunk to a point.
Let's shake your face. Your leader's voice. This is the first step in your journey. And now, if you're to believe, to grow, to give back. With Southeastern University's network, you don't have to lose hope teaching. We've partnered with over 200 churches and partners, just like you, to deliver world-class education right where you are. Learn through real-life ministry. We shape the people who walk with you. We are your degree at a fraction of the cost. First world, but the inside reaches far. Learn here, it's the new way to do it.
10 years before, you used more information than she did under, federal order.
Yeah.
Bizarre. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break because I got to give a shout out to Brunt Workwear. All right? These boots surprise the hell out of me. Now, if you've ever worn work boots, you know the deal. You can either get durable or you can get comfortable. All right? Either they're durable and they destroy your feet, or they're comfortable and they last for like a week and then they fall apart. But with Brunt, you don't have to choose. I put these on right out of the box. Sorry, they're a little dirty because I was shoveling snow with them a little bit earlier. They have no break-ins. You put them on and they fit immediately. They're comfortable immediately, and they're extremely durable immediately. Now look, I'm not a blue-collar guy, all right? But Brunt was started by that guy, Eric Girard. And because these big workwear brands stopped listening and turned into like fashion companies. So
He saw me.
that actually work. And it shows. These things are built incredibly well. They're waterproof. They have a safety toe, soft toe, pull-on, lace-up, whatever job site you're on, whatever place you're working at, they've got what you need. And they stand behind it because you can wear them to work, and if they're not right, you can send them right back. That alone tells you how confident Brunt is in their product. So if you're sick of uncomfortable boots that don't last, or extremely durable boots that hurt your feet, Brunt is the way to go. I'll be honest, it's freezing cold in New York and it's snowing. These have been incredibly good for me to be shoveling snow outside. So right now, if you're listening to this program, I got great news for you. You're going to get $10 off when you use the code CAMP. You're going to go to Brunt Workwear, that's B-U-R-N-T, workwear.com/CAMP. Use that code at checkout, and you're going to be getting $10 off your order. And if you don't like them, hey, no harm, no foul. You send them right back. That is how confident Brunt is that you're going to love these boots. But let's get back to the show. Okay, let's go through another one here. Is Maxwell and Young Gorilla in Mexico? What is that?
That one's,
This is not the one we mentioned before.
yeah.
Okay, this comes from someone named Ken T, and it was sent to an unknown redacted person. It says, Young Gorilla in Mexico. It says, she has identified Blaine Maxwell as a woman who came to Richard Marcinko's home in Mexico many times in 2010 and 2011, with Nancy Marcinko, the sexual searching for Richard's 10 or 11. We know of death threats against her because of testimony she gave in 2018 against Kelly, Biden, and Wayne in the sex abuse case in Mexico. Right now, we have her in a safe location. We want you guys to know, but we also need to protect her son, and her brother.
There again, you've got girls that are very young. And Virginia Dupree, with her affidavit, I think it was in 2014, she said that she had attended orgies with those kind of 12. And there was a Australian daily called The Age, I think it's out of Sydney. And they spent a lot of time in the Virgin Islands investigating Jeffrey Epstein. And they said that the victims were as young as 11 or 12. So, and then these therapists that I know corroborate that. So, I don't think, and you know, these guys are psychopaths. When I wrote the Franklin scandal, those pimps were primarily in the contested play. But if you wanted an 8-year-old, they would get you an 8-year-old. I mean, that's the way they're psychopaths. And they want to use their clients. And I think Epstein was primarily into, I don't know, 13, 14, 15-year-old girls, but it was he didn't have any. Like, it's not like he had to bother with his conscience.
Right. Now, I can accept that is true, what you're saying, as far as the ages of these victims and survivors. But is it also possible that this email is not true? That this was sent from an anonymous person trying to stir up information or falsely frame someone in an inactive way? Because we just have this anonymous email.
Well, it's not, yeah, I mean, it's anonymous now because of the redaction.
Right.
But that is entirely possible. But so it's entirely possible that it's some kind of deception, but it's also entirely possible that it's true too.
Right.
Given what we know.
And I guess the reasonable position would be let's investigate.
Well, that would, but there's no co-conspirators, so we're not going to investigate it.
Right.
That's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. In the interest of truth, I would want all of the fraudulent and fake emails to be investigated and proven fake, and I want all of the legitimate emails to be investigated and all of the co-conspirators that are involved in this operation to be convicted and serve their sentence, whatever it may be, in the court of law.
Well, the Epstein, that act, I mean, there isn't supposed to be redactions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So even the redactions here are unconstitutional, or maybe not unconstitutional, but maybe against what the
against the law. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, from what I understand, from what Thomas Massey has said, that the perps were not to be redacted. Only the victims were to be redacted. Right. And now everything is redacted.
There's even an email that's saying politicians, wealthy business people, etc., should be redacted. That's in one of the emails, basically telling them that we're going to redact whatever.
Yeah.
Result.
Con se colecciona se define. Combina internet y móvil y estarán conectados dentro y fuera del programa. Notamos, ahora más cuando conectas con internet y móvil. Una forma más de mantenerte un paso adelante.
The Whataburger Monterey Milk is back? You've got some nerve showing up with your all-beef patty, grilled peppers, and jalapeno ranch. Oh, we just missed you, that's all. The Whataburger Monterey Milk is back. Download the app. What a burger!
Well, I mean, the Trump administration really hasn't followed the law that Donald Trump signed in. So, we can't really expect them to start following the law now.
Right.
But I will say this, I'm kind of amazed at a lot of the stuff that was released.
Yeah.
Because it is in line with things that I've investigated previously. And what other people have told me. So,
right. And shout out to Thomas Massey and Rotom for their amazing, unwavering dedication to this issue, not politicizing it, and having sort of like this joint, bipartisan support.
They are really good guys. Donald Trump is having billionaires finance Thomas Massey's opponent right now in the primaries.
Right.
And I really hope Thomas Massey can keep his seat. I think there's a lot of people in Kentucky that really like him and respect what he's done.
Right.
But his opponents just came to leave with money.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple strange things here relating to keywords. So there's this one, the shrimp one right at the bottom from, yeah, right there. So this is an email, seems like it's to Jeffrey Epstein. And it says, no, some are like shrimp. You throw it.
You're playing Sea of Thieves.
And that's in response to, as long as you don't have any hammerhead ones, I like white sharks. So scroll down a little bit more, Christos. This is just seems like there's some...
And it's a good thing you don't play, because then
white sharks. And then
Rosie wouldn't marry a gay guy.
It says, no, some are like shrimp, you throw away the body. And then it says, I like shrimp, but not so much as too pink. I'm more into white than any other color. I like your philosophy. Go to the next slide, Christos. It says, I tried to build the Beijing airport, wanted to know...
Rosie scares you, though.
And then scroll up.
I'm surprised she hasn't told you to go watch your guys' show yet and kiss.
I'm on my island in the Caribbean with an aquarium full of girls. And then scroll up a little. It says, the King of Saudi Arabia has...
I hope she likes expensive diamonds so you go bankrupt.
I totally prefer yours. Sure, I would enjoy the view. 2 are Russians. I guess some might refer to them as white sharks. So, there's much more to this correspondence. It's sort of this strange coded language. It seems like some of it is not so coded. I mean, aquarium full of girls is like pretty obvious.
Breathe much.
And from this Google search here, he's a diplomat, former advisor in the diplomatic unit of former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. So that's what I found here. It's got Olivier Coulon.
There it is, yeah.
And so these emails are just so bizarre. I made references to white sharks, and I like white sharks, and I'm in an aquarium full of girls, and some are like shrimp, you have to remove the head, and oh, I hate the smell of black shrimp. Like, there's this weird
Don't talk to me.
racialized, misogynistic coded language. What do you mean?
Well, it's weird racial misogynistic coded language. If I put some smart money down, I would say that Oliver Columbus doesn't really like African Americans. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, again, what David was referencing, that Oliver Columbus not had legal charges pressed against him for just in the interest of being fully transparent. But with that said, these emails are just so bizarre. I mean, some are like shrimp, you remove the head. I've seen people online suggest that this is about actual dismemberment.
yeah, I've seen that too.
I've also heard people suggest that this is a euphemism, like a joke, where like, you know, girls with ugly faces, you call them shrimps. I've heard people say this. What do you think?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to think that he's referring to girls
Mm-hmm.
or women.
Okay, let's pop into another email, shall we? Again, more weird coded language here. Pizza and grape soda.
Okay, Harry Fish, he's kind of interesting.
Okay, so click on, is that Carrie Fish or Harry?
That's Harry Fish. I got
That one right there?
Yeah, I found this spell.
Oh, okay.
So, Harry likes pizza and grape soda.
Yeah.
And I got his number. He's actually a gifted urologist. He's an eminent urologist.
So yeah, this is from Harry Fish to Epstein.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Chunky, I forgot about that. What time do you want to get pizza and grape soda tomorrow? This is in June 2018. This is between a gifted urologist and also a billionaire talking about eating pizza and grape soda.
So, I found Harry's phone number. I'm pretty good at finding people's cell phone numbers. And it's just years being investigated. You're honest, you're pretty good at that. You know what database is. So I left Harry a message. Harry, Wednesday, come in, girl. Thank you. Pizza and grape soda. And then he never got back to me, which kind of surprised me. But then I texted him. And I said, Harry, it's
Damn.
Actually, I put it on Twitter, and I said, what is your favorite type of pizza, just for my own personal edification? And what is your favorite brand of grape soda? and he never got back to me. So I've left a voicemail for him, I've texted him. Harry doesn't want to talk to me. I'm hurt by that.
Now,
that really hurts me.
yeah, it's interesting.
You know,
He seemed forthcoming and interested to talk about Pete Finger's photos with his friend Jeffrey Epstein in 2018.
and I thought he would talk to me about Pete.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're not briefed in the club. You might not be one of the cool guys.
So I was kind of offended by him.
Yeah, it makes sense. I completely understand. Now, I've heard people suggest that pizza, as it relates to obviously the Pizzagate story, conspiracy theories, some have said that kind of came out of this 2020 email loop. Some people suggest that pizza refers to young boys, or I've heard it in reference to, you know, children in general. I've heard it in reference to CP, obviously meaning essentially that part, but also meaning cheap.
Damn.
Opioid addiction is between you and once monthly, Sublocade may help you move forward in your recovery. Sublocade, with counseling and psychosocial support, treats moderate to severe opioid addiction in adults started on an oral dose of buprenorphine or already on buprenorphine. Sublocade is just one dose that lasts all month long with no intermittent detox required. Buprenorphine can be started at over times of withdrawal. Sublocade may cause harm or death if injected in the vein. As an opioid, it may cause serious life-threatening breathing problems. Ask about naloxone for opioid overdose. Get emergency help right away if you think breathing, switching to peace, power breathing, naloxone, or naloxone is don't take other opioid painkillers, alcohol, or other drugs. It's free drugs. This can cause increased awareness, breathing problems, illness, and death. In emergencies, tell medical staff you're on Sublocade for opioid dependence. This isn't a full list of risks and side effects. Talk to your doctor and read patient label for more information. If you or a loved one is struggling with opioid addiction, visit Sublocade.com.
happened here?
Yeah, I looked into Pizzagate. Given my philosophic training, I try to approach everything agnostically. And the stuff that I've uncovered over the years is covered some very bizarre stuff where, you know, if I told people about, before any of this started hitting the internet, if I told people about some of the stuff that I discovered, you know, they strike me off as crazy. I mean, I experienced that quite a bit.
Why did you go all around?
With Pizzagate, I looked into it, and found a guy who could get me to the guy who could give me some answers. And then it evaporated. So that was it. I wasn't willing to put any more time into it. And I just moved on. But I think, and Pizzagate has been completely thought of as a conspiracy theory, sure. But, you know, the term conspiracy theory is it's a very strange term. In 1967...
Damn, she sent him off the map.
And because a lot of people were questioning the Warren Commission. I think the majority of Americans were questioning the Warren Commission, which is reasonable. And the CIA said that people that questioned the Warren Commission were going to position them as conspiracy theorists. And then they had like a litany of things that are negative about conspiracy theories. And prior to that dispatch, the Washington Post, the New York Times used conspiracy theories. Maybe once a year, very sporadically. But after that dispatch, it went up exponentially. So, conspiracy theorist is a great, I mean, the CIA guy who thought that up, I mean, his family should get royalties for that, because it's so easy. I mean, when people experience cognitive dissonance, when I was pitching the Franklin scandal to various editors, I would, I'd look into their eyes, and by the time I was pitching it to them, I had a lot of evidence. I had like a list of 60 victims, and I had a bunch of sealed grand jury stuff. And I'd be looking at these editors' eyes, and I could see, well, this is a horrible story. I should help Nick Ryan out. Or, you know, I can just write Nick Ryan off as crazy right now and have a nice meal with my family tonight.
I never think about it.
And I knew that most were going to go that route, but I didn't think all of them were going to go that route. But every editor that I pitched to the publisher, I could just, when I would do it in person, I could see the cognitive dissonance about what right before me. And then the default. Right. Let's write Nick Ryan off.
So, the actual code words here, though, pizza and grape soda, do you know what those mean?
I have no idea.
Have you heard theories about grape soda in particular? Obviously, pizza, I think you are a bit more familiar with, but grape soda, what is that?
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Do you think that it means what they're saying? Do you think it literally could be pizza and grape soda, or do you think it's like a Coke?
So, you've got an eminent urologist and someone who's a billionaire. Does it really strike you that they would go out for pizza and grape soda? Oh my God. Oh my God. So in love. Found you finally. Make me wanna say, oh my God.
You might just see a child, a smile, a pair of chubby cheeks. But we see so much more. Aid supports families, the power of early education, the foundation of Arizona's workforce. Early childhood is the key to a stronger economy and thriving communities. Workspace First is Arizona's early childhood agency, where we champion early learning in Arizona's future. You can too. Learn more and be strong by visiting firstthingsfirst.org/champion.
It seems strange to me, and it seems oddly specific.
So,
I can see him being like, hey, let's grab a bite, and then go to get pizza.
but then pizza and grape soda come up elsewhere too.
Right.
So, And Jeffrey Epstein really doesn't. I mean, he had a chef that flew with him everywhere he went. He was very, very meticulous about what he ate. Right. He does not strike me as a pizza great cook.
Right. And it's also just a strange, specific language to put into the English. And I know some rich people, perhaps not billionaires rich, but very few of the richest people I know are they, eating pizza and restaurant on a regular basis. So,
I mean, what do you think?
strikes me as very strange. I don't know what it means though. Is it possible?
It's hard to define.
Is it possible grape soda could be drugs? Is it possible it could be some other type of illicit thing? Perhaps. Is it possible it is trafficking?
No.
Also possible. That's why I just want some type of investigation, someone to, talk to Mr. Harrington on the oath, and some
No.
private or public.
I can give you his number. Give him a call. I mean, I didn't have much luck with him, but tell him you've got a pretty big podcast.
Yeah, I do. Come on.
Say Harry, come on. Yeah, my podcast. He lives in Manhattan.
Oh, great. There's an email from me. So there's other things in here. There's Deepak Chopra possibly asking Epstein to arrange women and women, and what is this?
And then there's one where Deepak Chopra says,
God is a construct.
God is a construct, two girls are real or something.
Yeah. And then he recently put out a statement here. You can click on one of these quickly.
There we go. Two girls. God is a construct, two girls are
So
real.
this is a message from Deepak Chopra to Jeffrey Epstein in 2017. God is a construct, two girls are real. Now, in fairness to Deepak Chopra, he did put out a statement suggesting that he had no involvement in what he was doing, and that he was fine with that.
I mean, see how they run.
Could you pull up his exact statement so we can get the full story again? Who's Deepak Chopra, first off?
Deepak Chopra is Hindu guru. And I lived on the ashram of a Hindu guru when I was 19 years old. It was in Holmesville, Pennsylvania. It was on a mountain. And I was talking to the Swami. He was a Swami. He was a holy man from India, a celibate. He was supposedly one with the Godhead. So I was talking to the Swami one day. And I couldn't swear I smelled cigarettes. And I went to one of the people on the ashram who I mentioned, one of the pod people. I went to one of the pods. I said, I could have swore smelled cigarettes on the first He's full of here's the deal. He has to have one virus to keep him headed to this plane of reality so he can teach it. And then I found out he was having, and he wasn't supposed to be a celibate, then I found out he was having sex with half the girls on the ashram. And then I found out that he was embezzling money from his more affluent initiates, and I thought to myself, this guy has got to be really spiritually advanced. If he has to do all of that to stay on this plane of reality, he's so grounded. So I looked into every Indian guru I could possibly find, and they all have lower chakra predilection.
Yeah.
It's and I think a lot of them come here, they're corrupt, but I think some of them come here and they're not corrupt. But it's just too much for them.
The power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the young, beautiful American girls that are spiritually starved, that look upon them as an enlightening. It's just too much for these guys. And I think he talks about that.
Right. And has some type of familiarity. His statement was here, I'm deeply saddened by the suffering of victims. I want to be clear, I was never involved with nor did I participate in any criminal or exploitative conduct. Any contact I had is limited under the abuse activity. And he goes on to say that he's trying to support victims and prevention and that he regrets the statements that he had shared. Now what's interesting about this is that Joe Rogan had also appeared in the files, and people had mentioned some former guests of Rogan had basically tried to connect Epstein with Rogan. And Rogan recently was on his podcast, and he basically said very clearly Oh yeah, they tried to put me in touch, and then I Googled him one time and said, F no, I'm not going to meet up with this guy.
Yeah.
So if Rogan has the wherewithal and the ability to do the due diligence and do one simple Google search and realize this guy's bad news, why couldn't all these other people?
I think the answer is right before your very eyes. I mean, if you type in Jeffrey Epstein, you would see that in the very least, he's a registered sex offender.
Right.
Now, how many people like to hang out with registered sex offenders? Not many.
Unless.
So,
they're doing something much
so for Deepak Chopra to provide us with something that disingenuous, I think just exacerbates my feelings of guilt.
Right. I've heard people make the claim like, oh, I was connected to this guy and I didn't look up who he was, and someone told me that it was some bullshit conviction, that it was actually, there's nothing, he was barely in prison, and so I just kind of looked past it. And on the one hand, I was like, alright, I could see someone being connected and going to a dinner and not knowing all the details of it. But then on the other hand, having some type of intimate correspondence where there's repeated emails back and forth, and you never just Googled their name of this extremely rich guy, just to even think like, oh, where did he get his money from? Or who does he know? And you never can talk to him. It just seems.
So, do you think Deepak Chopra is lying?
Lying is good. Because I don't know if he's intentionally saying a falsehood, or perhaps he's just omitting it. I don't know if he's been involved in sexual conduct with minors with Jeffrey Epstein.
Even though cute girls are real and God's a construct.
Right. I mean, cute girls might be 20 years old, and that might be what he's at.
That is true.
So I don't want to necessarily just completely throw him out there and say he's this.
But do you think that those emails that he's writing to Jeffrey Epstein and his statement about, do you think that there's somewhat contradictory?
Tonally, I think there's a contradiction.
Okay.
That on the one hand, with the statement he's saying, this is completely abhorrent, and I would never have any relationship with that. It's terrible, it's terrible. And then with his email, there's quite a familiarity.
I did not have a sexual relationship with that woman, Monica Lewinsky.
Right. Yes, it feels like there was a tonal shift that happened. So whether he's lying or not, I can't say. I've never met the guy, I don't know. But it feels strange to have such a friendly relationship with this guy 10 years after he's convicted in my head.
And I have my own experience with Indian gurus. And the experience of many other people too. And they've all found that their Indian gurus had lower chakra predilections. So it wouldn't surprise me if Deepak Chopra has lower chakra predilections.
Perhaps. I'm not going to cast all Indian gurus the same.
I'm an old guy, and I've looked into a lot of Indian gurus, and I've never, the Beatles really thought that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was like a great teacher, and then they went to his ashram in India, and then Maharishi started hitting on all the girls that came with him.
Sure. And we know that Bikram infamously was assaulting many women.
So,
5 es para celebrar, con la garantía de 3 de mejor. ¿Cuántas son el mismo precio por 5 años? Villancico. 5 años de ahorro. Una forma más de mantenerme un paso adelante.
every Indian guru that I've ever looked into, and I know that this is a categorical statement,
Sure.
but because of my experience with an Indian guru, I've looked into as many as I could possibly look into. They all come up lower chakra.
Yeah. I think that's probably what I think perhaps a healthy and helpful kind of caution is that if you're getting swept up with some type of, spiritual leader that's helps tapping into all these sort of, aspects of Eastern mysticism to try to, pull you into their web, maybe take a step back and consider where you're getting wrapped up.
Well, with the Stallion did, at least His Holiness of Anvil, she's going around that I lived with, he would tell the girls that they had been, lovers in a past lifetime. So that was kind of
Extremely insidious. Now, there's a couple other things here. You can tell me if there's a specific one you want to jump to. Epstein singly being invited to Mar-a-Lago in 2012. Peggy Siegel, who's sick of Woody Allen being busted for incest. Leonardo DiCaprio apparently used money to $9. He goes to Jeffrey Epstein, who then contacts Peter Mandelson for non-U.S. sponsors for the megastar. That is strange.
That is very bizarre because
Can you go to that one? I think so.
Leonardo DiCaprio would seemingly have millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Right. So this email is from June 12, 2009, from Jeffrey Epstein to a man named Peter Mandelson.
And he was the UK ambassador to the United States.
And it says here, can you think of anyone in India, China, Japan, etc., that might want the endorsement of Leonardo DiCaprio, Russia, etc., cars, etc.? He's looking for non-U.S. products to endorse to make some money. In 2009.
That one caught my attention to it. It just seems kind of incongruent.
So DiCaprio is looking for money. And whether or not he needed money, I don't know if we can that's something. No, but he wanted to get some type of sponsorship.
If you travel to Europe or Asia, there's a bunch of American stars that are on billboards.
Right.
Would never be on billboards here.
Right.
So that's kind of a common practice for Hollywood glitterati types.
Now, why does he go to Jeffrey Epstein? Or how does Epstein get the liaison for this?
I have no idea. And I really don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to tell us how he met Jeffrey Epstein.
If he ever did.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever did.
Yeah.
But at the very least, Epstein is willing to do this deal for him.
Yeah.
Is, willing to put it in
Wait,
favor of the pretty high ranking.
one would think that they've talked about it. I mean, one would think. I mean, I'm not 100% on that, but
I would presume.
yeah.
I would presume. It's possible that, DiCaprio's agents happen to know Epstein and reached out or something to that effect. Who's to say? But it is interesting that Epstein is willing to call in a favor with someone to help out Leonardo DiCaprio of all people.
And Mandelson, actually, he comes up with, I believe, a torture, something that has to do with torture. And
Can we pop back to the sheet here on Nick Bryan's website? What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I just want to state the obvious. You're not going to hire a chiropractor to do brain surgery. And if you're going to fight in the octagon, you wouldn't hire a guy that watches those watches.
Coca-Cola's so good.
Personal injury case, you're not going to just hire your buddy that's good with contract. Because you know that when you're hurt, it's because someone else was negligent. You don't want just lawyery vibes. You want real lawyers. And that's where
Who the fuck are you talking to?
America's largest injury law. With over 100,000 more than 1,000 lawyers. Crazy thing, they've recovered
You don't like alcohol?
$1 million for over 5
You don't like drinking?
They've got a real track record of fighting to get people full.
I love Coca-Cola. I would drink it every day I can.
You can check out Morgan, and their fee
Coca-Cola is
is
my favorite soda.
Yes, free. You
Yes.
literally don't pay anything.
That's all I drink. I drink it more than water.
That they can get compensation for you and your family.
Shut up, you be drinking shit like fucking... You drink like fucking Big K.
Or thepeople.com/GAGNON or dial #law. That is #529.
You drink motherfucking
People here at the campsite.
Dr. Chiropractor.
Now let's get back to the show. Okay, so it says here, this is from Jeffrey Epstein to an anonymous person that is redacted. It says, where are you? Are you?
No, I hate him.
I love the torture of the person.
I hate him.
I'm in China.
I hate him. 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 I hate him.
My BlackBerry wireless device.
And the name is unredacted there. There were redactions initially that you could unredact. And
No one's touching anything.
documents have that.
No.
You copy them and then put them on Microsoft Word. And then you can unredact them.
From his to R?
But Mandelson has been relieved of all his duties.
Good. I am. Damn. When there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? I ain't afraid of no ghost. You don't know anything about Ghostbusters. You watch the girl Ghostbusters. Oh, that's so funny. I've never seen the girl Ghostbusters. It's probably good enough though. I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Now the government is appealing. So our client retained the appeal and the responsive brief that must be filed with the appeal panel.
Chop chop. Woo.
They get time-consuming and create a lot of emotion. But our client is steadfast in their opinion. They deserve an appeal. And we concur. We're going to file the appellate brief. So if you lose at a security clearance hearing, then you appear by your client, or you appear to the next lawsuit. Don't give up. Call us at 800-481-2526.
When did he even leave?
We can help you. Military, active duty, civilian DOD contractors, and federal employees, local employees. We have offices in Texas, California, Florida, North Carolina, and Washington, D.C. But most importantly, we're here for you.
No.
There was consequences for him.
Right. Now, again, I don't know if this email goes to Madison. I've heard different theories about who the email is from. Again, it is simply it is redacted in the file for the release file. Yeah. But that email is very strange. It's for true belief. I don't. Do you give any theories to what that is?
I think that we're dealing with saving ship. I mean, that's, I think, the bottom line.
Now, I've heard a theory that there was a Middle Eastern billionaire who had basically been investigated for this bizarre torture video that he had recorded that eventually got smuggled out by people he was doing business with.
Yeah.
And it was around the same time. People have suggested that perhaps that is the video that is being referenced in the scene.
Yeah, I don't know. But I know what you're talking about. Salted and something or another from the United Arab Emirates, perhaps. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's just, again, another interesting and strange
That's an old movie.
interaction where these guys are talking about torture.
Yeah, it's an old movie that they made into a game, like they did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Same thing.
So, it's, I don't have the link for the 11-year-old, but it says like JPEG of an 11-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sent to Jeffrey.
So right here it is from a redacted person to Jeffrey Epstein's age 11. And then it has a full-size.jpg.
Yeah.
And that's the whole. Why is someone sending? I've never sent age 11 with a picture. That seems very strange that would be something included.
But you could play arc raiders.
In 2016, what is this?
But you could play arc raiders.
Convicted of or procuring a minor for prostitution.
Or Star Wars or anything else.
This is 10 years after. Yeah, and someone sent an email saying age 11.
I mean, you think that Jeffrey Epstein doing 30 months in a county jail where he's still getting 12 hours a day, and he was having sex with at least one teenager that we know of.
Right.
Do you think that was a speed bump for him?
As you would think.
I don't think it was. But
So you're having babies too and getting
I
married?
think that he's gotten away with it.
At least you're getting married.
And he's
It'd be a shame to not be married and have children.
dressed up like a Tyson Hall. Right. And then women, and I've got this from a very good source, women that are ostensibly helping his legal team
Yeah.
are come to the jail. This was before he was getting out 12 hours a day. And they had a special room for him where they can...
If you want to play. I played it when it first came out on PS4, but it's literally just the same game.
In the jail.
He's continuing with his criminal activity.
You could try it out if you've never played it before, but it's Fallout, but like it's almost like Sims Fallout.
I believe that he was.
You have to take care of your dwellers in your vault, and you start with one dweller and you name them, and then you have to find other dwellers and make babies and make your vault run and upgrade your vault and stuff like that.
I don't see this as a fluke. I see this as a feature of how the system operates. I don't see that these people are able to buy legal protection, bribe the necessary people, and have enough money to commit their crimes completely covered.
I don't care.
Public scrutiny.
I don't have to know I'm psychic, and it was going to be something gay.
The average person is not able to get high level legal representation. People, they're more willing to do things.
No,
perhaps
I can read the future.
To, criminal traffic, like a modeling job or something.
Unfortunately.
Because of their financial situation. And that the way that our financial system is set up is that the richest 0.01% are able to exploit the poorest 99%.
I've been.
The ghosts are doing what to you?
For many years. And traffickers are vicious people. As I've said before. I mean, whether they're living on the Upper East Side or they're in a trailer park in the Midwest, they're vicious people. The difference between the Upper East Side and the person, the trafficker in the trailer park is that the person in the trailer park.
If Greg doesn't know what that is, he's a fake old person.
To law enforcement, and that's kind of a different equation. Right. In Minneapolis,
there's no way he knows everything. That was not before your time at all. Killer Clowns came out in like the 80s.
I can show my school spirit with every purchase.
Oh, I don't know about it.
And a partner with the school, I'm always good for it. Major, that's mine. No serious problems. Rotator cuff muscles are the only muscles that externally rotate the shoulder. Concentrating on how you're hanging from the bar. If you bend your knees back behind you, you're not hanging right. This muscle right here is the core muscle called the lumbar. You'll compress and back like one of the big. Look how damn big that thing is. Is Jake Gyllenhaal on steroids for this movie? The torso angle is much more open. What's your guys' Cavalier after next.com?
like the prostitutes would do favors for the police officers, sexual favors for the police officers. And occasionally there would be like a roundup where they'd pick them all up in like a paddy wagon or something like that. But the ones that were dispensing favors, the police officers were told that there's going to be a roundup on Friday night or Saturday night. So yeah.
Now there's another email that I mentioned to you. I don't know if you included it.
And you just bought Mage Wars and played it twice.
And says, this girl.
And you just bought Mage Wars and barely played it. And you're already looking at other games. You're a slut.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein responds, make sure you dress up like Jesus next time you speak. And to me, it's the most morbid, perhaps, of all. It's so sinister.
Jay Dyer, you know what he is? Yes. He calls it Satan.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong.
So, I would have to agree.
Yeah, and Chris is pulling the exact same on it. But, I mean, that's basically just, there's something, and again, I think people are making the conclusion that this is a young girl that's saying this. It's possible that's the case. But it's just so ominous and so strange. And if it is a young girl that's suggesting, like, oh, God is helping through hard times, and I believe in Jesus, and then their response to that is, whoops. It just leaves so much room for speculation as to what that means, and almost any type of speculation is going to be the most tragic, morbid. I don't know, it's unsettling to me. To me, that's the most disturbing.
I don't think a lot of children and young women that came into Epstein's orbit, I don't think it really was beneficial to them. To be survivor that I've talked to has had major issues.
Right.
And,
Did you suck? Oh, what the hell?
Well, this, I think, we talked about this a little bit before we started going with that. It's just such
That's disgusting.
This type of crime and how this sort of organized crime ring works. That I've heard people say, like, why don't the survivors just say the name? And it's like, well, first off, many of them have ended where they can't.
This is the worst, one of the worst games ever.
From his original. So that's like.
But Greg likes them, so. You also like the worst games ever, Alize, so I don't want to hear anything from you. Okay, High Guard. Okay, High Guard. Okay, simulators.
So it's not an NDA, it's a release. And if you want to litigate against someone, you gotta get it.
Okay.
So, and basically, what the Epstein Victims Compensation Program does, it ensures there's no depositions. Right. Because depositions lead to disclosure.
Yeah.
Unsavory. Right.
Because there's only 2,000 people and less playing the game now.
Where there's red tape over who these survivors can speak out against. And then not to mention the psychological component of a very wealthy, powerful person coming after you, destroying your entire family, legal means, and just leaving you guys dry financially, or even more sinister means by actually harming other people around you.
Virginia Dupree, I got to know her, and she was quite the warrior. I mean, she had a horrible. Her father started her when she was 8, and then he pimped her out to a friend of his.
Shut your ass.
When she was 6, and pimped her out to a friend of his when she was 8, and then she ended up in some weird facility that was very archaic, and she would run away from it, and she ultimately got. She was on the streets, and she got picked up by a him named Ron Eppinger. And Ron Eppinger put her in an apartment, and then and then after that, and then the FBI got onto Ron Eppinger, and then Eppinger gave
Your wife let you cheat on her?
And
Yeah, why would I complain about you being happily engaged?
And Virginia was in bed with this guy. And then her father was kind enough to let her back into the house. And then got her a job at Mar-a-Lago where she met Maxwell. So, but with her, she was an amazing supernova man. And the way that she went up against these birds.
What happened to Evan?
Don't start.
But Virginia was an amazing person. I'm pretty sure that she suffered from dissociative identity.
Almost certainly. I mean, this is the element that we're talking about. So you have the legal and sort of the implicit intimidation that goes along with speaking out against powerful people, but then there's also the psychological component of enduring this type of sadistic abuse.
And then she was terrified of Les Wexner because of his mafia connections. and she was terrified of the Hooverang because of its size. She couldn't, I mean, terrified. So you superimpose that on what she saw and what she endured. And it's, I mean, ultimately what happened was her husband started beating her. And she tried twice during the preceding year. And then her husband did a preemptive strike and got custody of the kids. And have you seen that picture of her where she's through the back? Okay, so that initially it was thought it was an accident. It wasn't an accident. That was her husband. That really beat her up.
I mean, how many men failed virginity? I mean, from the day she was born.
Not only men, I mean the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And multiple times. And yes, men too, but definitely the system.
Yeah. There's just, I
thought I was healing you part of
a
time.
woman or a man who's been abused at a young age, why it would affect them. And one of the things you mentioned was that there's a psychological component of being abused, and then that leaves you with a trauma, a scar that exists within you, within your nervous system. And many people, you know, with no fault of their own, will succumb to some type of addictive behavior or some type of coping mechanism in order to deal with that trauma, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sexual addiction, what have you. And then as a result, that can lead to recidivism and more further incarceration that then affects your story, affects your testimony, it affects your character, your credibility, to testify against these powerful people. So you might have someone who's, you know, 35 years old and is addicted to Jeffrey Epstein, but has had years of drug or substance abuse, that's been in prison, and now you expect them to go in front of Congress or go in front of some type of judge and explain what Epstein did to them when they were 10 and have anyone to do. So now you're dealing with the examination of their character.
Damn.
So with the Franklin scandal, the Franklin scandal was Republicans and little boys. Epstein's primarily Democrat, real business, he's a partisan divide in our political system. But the vast majority of the boys that I talked to have been in prison. Right. And they had come from dysfunctional families. They had been repeatedly, some as young as 6. And then at a certain point they lose their youthful marketability and they're just expunged. And what you end up with is someone who's very damaged, who is, chances are, a drug addict and or an alcoholic. And they're going to commit crimes. I remember I was looking for one, I had a list of 60 victims, as I said before. And there was one kid named Rufus, and I would kind of track him around the country with these databases that I used. And then he started showing up in Nebraska, but I could never find him. I had a really hard time finding him. And finally, I hired a private detective and I said, "Can you find this guy? I mean, I can't find him." And she told me where he was living because she had access to the DMV. And she said, "Be careful with this guy. He's very, very violent." And so I called him up. And I said, "Rue, my name's Nick Bryan. I'm a journalist. I'm working on a story." He had been, before Boys Town, he's been during Boys Town. And I said, I'm a journalist. He said, "Are you a cop?" And I said, No, I'm not a cop. I'm a journalist." "Are you a cop?" And he must have asked me that like 6 times. And I said, "No, I'm not a cop." And then he said, "Well, meet me at this bar. And if you're a cop, I'm going to snap your neck." And so I'm at this bar, which is one of those bars where people drink until they die. I mean, they might die next week, or they might die next month, or they might die next year, but their goal is to drink until they die. So I'm in this opiate addiction is between you and
Supplicate may help you move forward in your recovery. Supplicate with counseling and psychosocial support treats moderate to severe opioid addiction in adults started on 12 doses of buprenorphine or already on buprenorphine. Supplicate is just one dose that lasts all month long with no complete detox required. Buprenorphine should be started after the first signs of withdrawal. Supplicate may cause harm or death if injected in the vein. As an opioid, it may cause serious life-threatening breathing problems. Ask about naloxone for opioid overdose. Get emergency help right away if you're faint, dizzy, sleepy, confused, have problems breathing, speaking, or talking, or if naloxone is given. Don't take with other opioids, benzos, alcohol, or other drugs, including street drugs. This can cause severe drowsiness, decreased awareness, breathing problems, coma, and death. In emergencies, have medical staff who are substituted for opioid dependence. This isn't a full list of risks and side effects. Tell me what's under the for more information. If you or a loved one is struggling with opioid addiction, visit supplicate.com.
Bar making a cranberry juice that doesn't really taste on your cranberry juice. I was a little worried about that. Any that I tried had lots of that. But anyway, Michael figured that was beside. So Drew comes in with two buggies of his, and he goes back, and then there's a room, empty room, behind the bar, and so there was Drew and his three buddies. And then Rue grabbed me. And Rue is like a human pit bull. He did 10 years in prison, and he lifted a lot of weight. And I'm saying to myself, you know, of course I saw the accident. I said, you know, and Rue was the biggest and meanest of them all. So I said, you know, I'm gonna hit Rue and hopefully something happens, and then I'll be able to get out of that. But he said, how did you know? And then I gave him this documentation that I had, and where he'd lived previously with a foster care parent. And once he read the documentation, he realized that I was being honest. And so he got rid of his two buddies, and I took him out to dinner, and his thing was vodka and shooting for some meth. And I eventually dropped him off, and then we talked a few times, and then he kept on saying to me, you opened the wrong door.
I want to punch a kid in the
He
face.
slammed that door shut, and I, was talking to him about it, this horrible nightmare of his, and he was dangerous, but I really wanted to get an interview with him. So we had talked on the phone. He seemed very hostile to me. So my second to last day in Nebraska on that particular sojourn, I thought, I'm going to throw the dice. I'm going to drive by his place. And so he's working on a car in the driveway. And I have no idea what's going to happen. I say, Rue, how you doing? And he had drank a lot of vodka that day, so he goes, I've been thinking about talking to you. And I said, really? That would be great. And so he needed parts and things like that. I was kind of his goal for the rest of the day. And then early evening, I got an interview from him. And just broke down crying. That armor that he wore was taken, he just took it off, and it was the damaged 12-year-old boy. The armor had enabled him to go, hang out with criminals, hang out with drug addicts, go to prison, But the root box that I interviewed that night was a 12-year-old boy. That was really, really hurt.
It breaks my heart, truly. Like, ever since having a child, my whole perspective on just people and, even just how I interface with people has fundamentally changed. And anytime I see a really tough, scary-looking guy that's got tattoos all over his face and he's just, like, emanating this testosterone and this entire signal to anyone around him that don't mess with me, or I'll fuck you up. Like, if you touch me, I'll ruin you. Like, that type of attitude. There's always just a little kid under that didn't feel safe, and that wasn't protected, and that was failed by the adults around us that were supposed to be protected. And it truly breaks my heart. Like, I get emotional to think about it, because it's like, seeing my son and just like how precious and pure he is, the idea that there's other kids like my kid that didn't have the support system that my son had, that got exploited, abused, and now lead this life of whether it's crime or coping or whatever you want to call it to try to patch up this wound that never healed from when they were a kid. It's tragic.
But if you look at the numbers, according to the Centers for Disease Control, 25% of underage girls and 5% of underage boys. Most people in the field will say it's slightly conservative for underage girls and extremely conservative for underage boys. But if you just go to the CDC numbers, there's over 50 million Americans that have these monitors. So, if we could take one thing out of our society, if we could take that out of our society, the prisons wouldn't be full, the psychiatric hospitals wouldn't be full, there wouldn't be so many people on disability. I mean, if we just take that one thing out of our society.
Because the cyclicality of it as well. I mean, so many people that abuse for themselves. Yeah. I mean, people speculate that Jeff Epstein himself was abused when he was a kid. I've seen that, stated perhaps in his deposition where he kind of reacts uncomfortably to the question. And again, that does by no means doesn't involve him for running a sex trafficking organization where he was sadistically torturing kids. But it does, I think, shed a little bit of light to how insidious and sort of cancerous this type of thing is in society.
Some of those guys were, I mean, when I'm talking about the perps that I wrote about in the Franklin channel. Some of them were proud, but lots of them.
You might just see a smile, a pair of chubby cheeks, but we see so much more. A supportive family, the power of early education, the foundation of Arizona's workforce. Early childhood is the key to a stronger economy and thriving community. First things first is Arizona's Early Childhood Agency, where we champion early learning in Arizona's future. You can too. Learn more and stay involved by visiting firstthingsfirst.org/champion.
They were just bent. Yeah. There was just something about them that was fundamentally bent.
Yeah.
And
perhaps a more robust social service capacity to deal with children that they're able to get help and counseling to help them not continue that cycle of abuse.
look at the numbers, over 50 million, and that's a very, very conservative number.
Yeah.
So
It's just tragic.
there's a lot of people that are walking around that have been sexually abused, and no one else knows.
Yeah.
And I knew someone who was sexually abused, and his mom said, "Don't tell anybody, so nobody knows." Mm-hmm. So nobody knows. So his mom was relegating him to nobody to ensure his silence.
Right.
And to me, now I know that happens all the time, but that kind of maternal malevolence is mind-boggling, but it's happening probably within 2 miles of where we're talking right now.
Yeah, almost certainly. And I mean, there's probably people listening to this that have dealt with, childhood sexual abuse. And if that is you, you're not broken. You did nothing wrong. But if you're able to, somebody getting help for it is probably the most beneficial thing you can do, because letting that fester in your soul and letting nobody know, I just think is so traumatizing to your psyche.
I was, my mother married a corporate lawyer, and he was very violent to me. And the first time I ran away, I was 12. And I didn't run away because I was a bad student. I was actually a very good student. I was a very good athlete.
Booty warrior town.
Way that I had self-reservation. So I know what it's like to overcome something, and I was never sexually abused. But just the trauma that I had to deal with was very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. Very difficult. Like, saw some shrinks, and most of whom weren't very helpful. But I had to work through that, and I can just imagine someone that had the trifecta of emotional abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. I just had emotional and physical still. And who knows what would have happened to me if I'd been sexually abused. I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I just look at these kinds of units, like the one Chris had up with, this guy saying this girl loves Jesus and God loves her out so much, and just the sort of pathological, this malevolence, just say, whoops. It's like, it just reeks of just the highest order. And,
well, I mean, a lot of this. Yeah, what we've been going through, I think, is very.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to be skeptical to a certain degree and not jump in and go downstream.
Damn, 3 minutes. Oh
a
my
lot of the emails that we're
god.
going through indicate an unbelievable degree of malevolence.
Yeah. I'm curious, who do you think? Yeah, I don't know what if you have an answer. So I'm curious, who do you think is the next Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, so I was told that there was a Jeffrey Epstein understudy. And I don't know, I don't know if that source was correct or not. But at any given time, there are various Jeffrey Epsteins trafficking children that are protected. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that because I'm a lightning rod for that type of stuff. People contact me all the time. And Jeffrey Epstein and Franklin are the only networks that have come around in the last 30 years. I mean, there at any given time, there are various networks that work, that are protected.
Now, where can people look? What should people be weary of? How would someone identify this individual as Leslie?
Well, with Epstein, he was identified in 1996. Mm-hmm. Maria Farmer went to the FBI in 1996. And said that he had child pornography. And so that was the first time that we know of where Epstein could have been found.
Right. And it still operated for 10 years. Pretty much with me.
Well, actually, he operated until 2019. There, so,
but with no legal recourse.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know this until recently. There was the feds in the Southern District of Florida drafted a 60-count indictment against him. Because I just thought that they came in and the feds came in and quashed it. But actually, that's not the case. There was a 60-count indictment drafted against Epstein. And there's actually an email where it talks about Ken Starr, who prosecuted Bill Clinton's.
I want to see how these guys are getting killed by a support on the back.
And then talks about the top brass, quote unquote, top brass, the FBI. They got to go visit Alexander Acosta and edify. Now, a U.S. attorney, there's only 2 people in the country constitutionally, that can tell the U.S. Attorney to stand down. One is the Attorney General, and one is the President. Alexander Acosta, as the U.S. Attorney, is not going to unilaterally cover up something. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We always recommend people to stop here for the arts and crafts because pottery has been part of the culture since the beginning. So another thing that we deal with is silver, copper, carving, beadwork, just again a representation of perseverance, Mother Nature. Yeah. When people come in, they say, wow, I had no idea this was here. We are still here, and that's what I love to explain is our history.
The Whataburger Monterey Melts is back? You've got some nerve showing up with your all-beef patties, grilled peppers, and jalapeno rolls. No, we just missed you, that's all. Whataburger Monterey Melts is back. Download the app. What a burger!
Roberto Gonzalez, who is the Attorney General, is not going to unilaterally cover up a network and go out on a limb. So that cover-up in 2007, 2008, that emanated from, I believe, George Bush.
Interesting.
So it emanated from the apex of our political system.
What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I just got a cheat code that I want to tell you guys, all right? I am at an age in my life where, unfortunately, a normal night out has consequences. Not even crazy drinking, like just a couple of drinks, and the next day, I'm wrecked. Like, my sleep score is bad, my head feels bad. Like, on my Whoop, it tells me, like, hey, you slept like crap. And that's why I use Cheers Restore. All right, this is basically a dual action after alcohol aid that supports both my brain and my liver. And it's created after research on a compound called DHM, designed for how alcohol actually affects your body. Before, I would just like drink a bunch of water and hope. But now, Cheers Restore actually gives you the actual chemicals to make you feel better. It's been on Shark Tank, it's sold over 30,000 stores, and it's backed by doctors and clinicians. And the promise is pretty simple. You're going to feel 50% better the next day or your money back. All you need to do is take 3 capsules after your last drink or before bed. And this isn't for going crazy, all right? But if you're just like a normal adult having a few drinks, it really helps. So, the viewers of this channel, great news for you. You're going to get 20% off when you use the code CAMP. That's CAMP at cheershealth.com. Go to cheershealth.com. Use the code CAMP, get 20% off. You're going to go out, have just as much fun, and feel way better the next morning to get after. And tell all the good folks over at Camp Tag next day. Let's get back to the show.
No, shut up.
To and from is completely redacted. This is the subject is Ken Starr. This is on the 10th of December 2007. Hey guys, Ken Starr is coming to Miami on Friday to meet with Alex. This is Alexander Acosta. I've been invited, perhaps it is time for the FBI, I mean the top brass, to attend as well. The meeting is at 1 on Friday. I am not extending the invitation.
Chimichanga.
So there, Alexander Acosta obviously had a lot of things put on because there was a 60-count indictment drafted, and count 51 was child trafficking, which in the federal system is 15 years to life. Right. That's a heavy sentence. So that 60-count indictment could have put Jeffrey Epstein away for good.
And this email seems to corroborate with Acosta's claims in the hearsay when he's getting inducted to Trump's cabinet, saying, I was told that he was intelligence. And perhaps this is when he was told that.
I'm working on an article right now by Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA. And they're very prolific. The New York Times, about a month ago, came out with an 8,500-word article. And it concluded that Jeffrey Epstein was a grifter, but that he had no connections to intelligence.
No shot.
A number of times already, but this was so disingenuous. Jeffrey Epstein had a business relationship with Adnan Khashoggi. And there's like 5 different publications that I found that talk about Epstein's business with Khashoggi. There's a book that talks about Epstein's business with Khashoggi. There is on Wikipedia talks about Epstein's business with Khashoggi. Mm-hmm. And Khashoggi was an infamous arms dealer who was part of Iran Contra and the CIA. So the New York Times, I mean, really, and it did that with some other people too. That and why is the New York Times covering that up?
Something else.
Because of something like that. Right. Somebody's visited. So is an editor-in-chief. Mm-hmm. And I know someone who worked at the New York Times, and he felt that most of the journalists are on a reservation that they don't even know that they're on. And I had a buddy that was an editor at Harvard Magazine, mm-hmm. and he said that his colleagues didn't even know that they were on a reservation. Wow. Well, I think, well, at least with the New York Times, that there's middle management that are probably CIA, right? Or getting paid by the CIA. Somehow connected. So look, on that news article that found that Gabrielkin had no time to account, maybe a number of them are just that stupid. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe some of them did know. I mean, I don't know how you could miss on Adnan Khashoggi and Epstein. Right. So obviously it was willful malfeasance there. But where did that come from? It must come from an editor. Yeah.
She didn't learn to play nobody today.
Epstein goes.
She's lying.
Do you think it's connected to his current?
She can't even play. I'm tired of liars.
In these files.
Damn. And then baby was like, oh.
Advanced liposomal blend of glycine, asparagus, and vitamin C, with renowned botanicals like horse chestnut and butcher's broom.
I don't know. I was told that there was an Epstein understudy. Through a source, that source seemed to know some stuff. But then, like a lot of sources, she evaporated. So I have no idea. But what I can say is that
holy shit!
I've talked to a lot of people who were trafficked in the United States. What? Via protected networks. I believe that, as I said, there are very protected networks at any given time in the United States.
Is there a way to draw an analog with Franklin's case? Was there anyone after Lawrence King that then was, leading the charge? Was it passed on internally, or was it a completely new thing versus Franklin?
Yeah, I think once King's Spence were like Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Right. And Spence killed himself.
Too bad.
And came went to prison for 12 years.
And then was there a new version of them that sprouts up from the same?
I don't know. I mean, Boys Town is kind of, if they were using Boys Town as kind of a smorgasbord for pedophiles. Right. And Boys Town is like, which was developing all around the country, which really concerned me.
Like a franchise.
Well, it wasn't, it's a Catholic institution, and they were opening up various branches all around the country. So, that concerned me, big time. And actually it's still concerned me. Boys Town concerned me.
Yeah.
They don't let me on the campus very long. Although, I'm making a documentary about the Franklin.
No, I'm not finding.
And
I want to go.
we were very loud with cameras. And they let us hang out for about 10 minutes. And before they told us to leave. Because Boys Town has its own police force. Really.
Do your missions on your own time. Groups are for goop.
It has its own post office. I mean, it's very insular. Yeah.
So, if you were looking at that question, is it possible you would look around a place like that?
Yeah, there was a famous bank robbery in Willie Sutton, and in the 50s or 60s, and Willie was dead. Willie, why do you rob banks? And Willie said, well, that's where the money is. And why do people run orphanages or get involved?
He still.
I mean, a lot of times. And I'm not saying all the time. There's a lot of good people that are working with children, but then there's a lot of monsters also that are working with children. And that orphanages would be a great place for a monster to work.
Right. Now, when you say an Epstein understudy, do you think this is someone that learned his ways, or someone that was also dealing in the same financial blackmail network?
I was just told that it was just exclusively, I mean, I didn't ask about financial networks, but I did ask about sexual trafficking, child trafficking. And she said to me that there was an understudy. I haven't been able to find an understudy that I did. But a lot of these emails are, I mean, I suspected a lot of the stuff that was in these emails. Because as I said earlier, human traffickers are vicious psychopathic people who have no conscience. But I wasn't really able to, like, I knew that there were, because of these therapists that I knew from others in Virginia, that the kids were definitely under 14, or a lot of the kids were under 14. But some of this other, like, and I knew that there was sadism too. But some of this other stuff is pretty new.
Now, something that I wanted to ask you, and I'm curious maybe just go through a couple of the emails before we depart there, but this is just something I can't really figure out. Epstein's whole arc has very specific moments, key moments that change the trajectory of his life. And we know, obviously, his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell in the 90s, his relationship with Leslie Wexner, these things change, like his hiring of Bear Stearns. They put him onto a path. But it seems like things start to be strange in Epstein's life at the very beginning when he graduates high school, drops out of college, and then gets hired at the most prestigious private school in all of maybe America, the Dalton School.
So he was hired by Donald Barr.
Right.
And
The father of William Barr.
And William Barr covered up not only Epstein, but he covered up Franklin too.
Right.
He was the Attorney General under Bush 1, the smart George Bush.
Right.
But Donald Barr had been OSS.
Right. Which is the precursor to the CIA.
And now, he ran this program out of Columbia University for gifted students. They were looking for gifted students. And I have not been able to corroborate that that is how he met Jeffrey Epstein. But here was a guy that was militant and fascist. And he's the headmaster of Dalton, and he's gonna hire a guy that doesn't even have a college degree. I don't think that's gonna happen unless there's a prior relationship.
So this is my question. That Jeffrey Epstein at this point is 19, 20, 21?
Yeah, boy, it's Flavor Flav, and I'm bringing the hype to the U.S. bobsled skeleton team with crazy games with a limited edition bobsled plush puppy. Revolution begins tonight.
Yeah, it's relatively young, yeah.
And he's already on the path? Like, that's what I can't exactly figure out. Did they know that he had this, insidious predilection for young girls at this time? Was this something that he was forced or groomed into? Like, I can't understand.
Barr wrote a book about intergalactic sex trafficking, where a 15-year-old is graphically raped.
Right.
So when he wasn't being like an upright fascist, he was writing those type of books. So, Space Relations, I think is the name of the book. So for him to hire Jeffrey Epstein, it's completely out of character for him. So I believe, and I can't prove it at this point, I believe that when he was running those classes or programs for gifted children, I think that's where he met Epstein.
And how old do you think Epstein is at that time? A teenager?
Yeah.
So from the time that Epstein himself is a teenager, he's on this track to be tied in with intelligence, and tied in with the government, and tied in with the most powerful people in the country.
Well, I think there's gradations of that.
Mm-hmm.
We always have to do your guys' objectives.
And you see that with secret societies too. I mean, how far is this person willing to go?
Right.
I'm
And so
not
it's
talking about
continuing
you, Isaiah, because I've
Yeah,
actually never
but
played
it's
with
just
you.
the path is just
When I
so
play with Greg and
precarious that he's hired the Dalton School, an elite institution for training the future of America, as a college dropout, which is strange, by a guy who's extremely militant and upright in his academic discourse, which is very strange. And then from there it goes to Bear Stearns. Again, still underqualified and very strange. And is put into a very specific unit of Bear Stearns that allows him to meet all sorts of people. And then gets put on the board of the Rockefeller Institute. But again, just all of it is just like so perfectly placed to be this operator.
Okay, so at Bear Stearns was doing a lot of business with BCCI, which was a bank that was probably the dirtiest bank in history, if you can imagine a bank like that. It laundered money for the CIA, laundered money for drug cartels. I mean,
I sometimes will play with my friends, hoping
every
that you guys
dirty
will help me.
deed that a bank can do, BCCI was doing. Now, Bear Stearns and BCCI had a relationship. There's been a lot of people that surmise that that's where Epstein really tapped into his malfeasance, was interacting between Bear Stearns and BCCI, but I haven't found this entirely possible, but I have not found proof.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm trying to understand, when does it, quote unquote, all go wrong? You know, like, or is this like his path? And maybe one possible story is that he's an affable guy that's, smart enough and is able to get into these places with his connections. And he knows enough people in order to.
But his connection, I mean, the dude's
Unless
from
I get,
a blue
unless
collar
I
family.
get Greg
His
drunk,
dad was a
then
gardener
that's a different
for
story.
New
When
York
I
City.
can get Greg drunk,
So,
he can do whatever I want him to do on art.
Maybe he's smart enough and he's at this, gifted thing and he's able to meet this guy and, Donald Barr really likes him, so he gives him a shot to, teach Dalton. And then from there, he's affable and, savvy enough
he
to
doesn't
meet.
last that long.
Right, but then he goes to Bear Stearns.
Yeah.
I think from connections that he makes with Dalton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so he's friendly enough, he's smart enough to impress enough people in order to keep on elevating. And then I wonder if he strikes a deal with intelligence. And they realize that his pedophilic sort of desires make him extremely easy to control.
Well, if he was interacting between Bear Stearns and BCCI, I mean, BCCI was doing the dirtiest money laundering that you could do. So, if that was the case, but I can't prove it, if that was the case, then people would, and BCI was heavily plugged into the CIA, then they would realize that, he was our man. With King and Spence, and the Franklin scandal, they were both in Southeast Asia at the same time. Spence was an ABC reporter, and King had a top security clearance in Thailand. And I believe, now this is just my extrapolation, I believe that both of them got busted, little boys, in Southeast Asia, and then they returned. Because when they come back to the United States, their careers are like, just, the trajectory is straight up. Right. And they're both from working class families. So that's my theory about King and Spence, is that's when they got turned. I don't know with Epstein. There's too many things with Epstein that we just don't know. What was his relationship really like with Donald Barr? Who was he dealing with? Was he dealing with BCCI when he was at Bear Stearns? We don't know.
Right. And I guess I'm curious what predates what. Does his first offense as a pedophile, does that happen and then his intelligence connections, or vice versa? I don't know.
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right. But the two things I do think are linked in the sense that he's able to blackmail without having to consult his conscience at all because he's a sociopath, psychopath. And so he becomes really valuable to people operating within the government because he's able to do all the dirty work that the government probably wants done, but after the church committee, they can't have it on the books.
Actually, I really wish that the church committee had done something.
Yeah, they're posted.
Read, stretch, and strengthen at the Village. No matter what your fitness goals are, we have endless options to help you meet them. Join a class, partner with a trainer, or design your own workout. Your goals are waiting to be crushed.
Broken shield. It's cool. I was just doing the mission, so I'm not sure. I just like the grenade back.
I mean, they exposed a lot. Frank Church lost his Senate seat in his next bid. There was a lot of money that came in, kind of like what we're seeing with Thomas Massey.
Right.
So, I don't think that the church hearings, when Carter came in, he fired a bunch of CIA people. It's called the Halloween Massacre. But when Reagan came in, he hired them all back. So, I don't really think that the church commission had much of an effect. Unfortunately.
I just heard it as a theory that after the church committee or the church commission, that it basically exposed so much of the government's doings for the past 30 years, MK Ultra and many other sort of secret...
MK Ultra, Chaos, COINTELPRO.
Right, so many sort of secret, nefarious things that the government was doing, and now they're exposed through these, acts of, freedom of information, basically. And in order to not let that happen again, they start using these third-party private citizens to carry out their dirty work. So, hey, we need some weapons moved, we need some blackmail done, we need some stuff to be fixed. We have this guy that exists as just a regular citizen that we can utilize for all of our intelligence needs.
They're gonna jump. They're going.
I've
They're going to
concluded
extract.
that
Go. They're going.
there are CIA people that are good people. There really are. Not everybody in the CIA is like that. But there is a dark, malignant corner of our intelligence, sure, that employs people like Jeffrey Epstein and Lawrence King and Craig Spence. Sure, definitely, without a doubt. And it has a tremendous amount of power.
But I just wonder if someone like Epstein comes online because they all of a sudden see this guy that has a high risk tolerance, he's financially savvy, he's working within this seedy bank and willing to do really high risk things that could put him in jail for a long time, but he's crazy enough to do it, and he has this predilection for young girls, and they say, oh, this is a perfect operative. We're going to scoop him up to do all of our dirty work.
He was busted for insider trading.
I'm not sure. I didn't happen with him.
Yeah, he leaves on violation.
But, he just skipped to the next gig. I mean, there was no ramifications for him. Was he dealing with BCCI? Did he get involved in? Was he bent when Donald Barr hired him? Those are things that we just don't know yet.
Right.
And hopefully we will find out.
Now, as of today, Pam Bondi is sort of testifying and under oath explaining why the administration is doing what they're doing and why the files are being released in that specific way. Christos, do you have the text messages by chance that have been sent regarding that? I think it would be interesting just to react to a few of those. Jesus sent a couple about Thomas Massey versus Pam Bondi discussing Epstein. There's another clip that suggests that perhaps Pam Bondi lied under oath.
No, shit. Whoa. That one gets me by surprise.
Yeah, but she's called out for it. Apparently Ted Lieu catches her in a lie and then says that directly to her. So are you able to fully record it?
She said that Jeffrey Epstein was on this material abusing girls, and then that she was 108 degrees on it. I think that our Attorney General has decimated her own credibility. I mean, that's why Todd Blanche is essentially acting as the Attorney General at this point. And he's decimating his credibility, so.
Right. It seems like anyone that is willing to deny what we've all read, even just these heavily redacted, probably select emails,
Yes.
is going to just destroy any credit.
So, they released 3 million emails, and it has this kind of content. Can you imagine what the 3 million emails are that haven't been released?
Yeah. So this is a clip from today. I think it happened while we were recording. And yeah, this is, I think it's pronounced Liu. That basically catches her alive. Let's watch.
Now, there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one who has those files.
I claim I got your answer. You said it's no evidence. Sure, but stop the clock. Stop the clock.
Legislation. This is
not. Wait, I belong to the gentleman who's called California. I'm going to put up another document of a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the...
Last summer, I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, a year later, I'm cancer-free, and I knew it was time to start moving again. A friend recommended Roadrunner Sports. A fit expert guided me through the perfect fit system. The 3D foot scan, the treadmill analysis, the whole process was an amazing experience. They even set me up with the right shoes and custom insoles. Now, I'm back, and after everything I've been through, this is my fresh start.
The smallest part can bring your vision to reality. So turn to Xometry. From a global network of thousands of vetted manufacturers, we match your order to the supplier best qualified. Nothing ships until it's exactly right. Xometry. Call it a part. We call it everything.
FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off. The officer at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one in the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized the operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you have any decency, you would resign right after this hearing.
I'll second that.
And would you mind pulling the other clip as well? I think it's pertinent to our conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production. They're in.
Would you mind just skipping 4 minutes in?
Am I right? This is an email that was sent. Mr. Chairman, please put story on it.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Webster's News added...
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of the first 40 minutes. And we invited you in. This guy has trust arrangement syndrome. You're a failed...
There is no evidence that was yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that for the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I'm reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking me, Eric Garland.
You're reclaiming
This
time.
is bigger than Watergate.
But I would answer questions.
This goes over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And now,
I want to know, at what point did the FBI and DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because Albert Epstein files came.
Doing this or what?
Very funny, Wade.
Power beyond sight. trust the data. I don't miss.
Which hero do you think you want to be today?
I am Loki, goddess of mischief, and the queen of Asgard.
Now, who am I gonna banish from this match? Pick your hero. Or villain, I'm not judging.
Goddess of lies? If you wish. What society can exist
30 seconds
without
before you
lies?
attack. Get ready.
Even the astral realms are torn apart by the time stream entanglement.
Who better to put them back together than you and me?
I like your optimism.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1! All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
I am honored. In most realities, I would not have gotten an invitation. Now, a disappearing act.
Time to vanish! Render me assistance!
You the mission area is yours. Faster now! Capture the mission area!
I'm everywhere!
I am much better.
The more the merrier. The wizard is down. Time to vanish. Invigorating, no? I'm a true team player.
Always glad to help.
I outnumber you.
What are you aiming at?
Time to vanish. There you are. Don't mind me or anything. Feeling for my friends.
Your team's capture progress is half the halfway point.
Splendid. Your powers are mine!
Against the world! I am Phoenix!
Time to vanish.
Never fall!
You're quite welcome. You are restored.
They've almost got it!
I have many faces.
Control seized!
Advantage gained in the material plane.
I outnumber you.
else to Gambit was looking for.
You are restored. I outnumber you. I'm gone. I have many faces.
Magneto!
You are restored. You're quite welcome. The more the merrier.